Hello, this is John Kibballs, here to discuss current events and other topics of interest while trying to put them in a broader context, as I attempt to explore the universe of human ethics. Today, I want to discuss reimagining what is known as free will. Note that there has been a long and voluminous philosophical debate regarding the soundness of the competing ideas of free will and determinism, with many of the greatest philosophers in history weighing in. I am not going to rehash that debate through its history or complexity, but instead I'm going to get right to the crux of the matter. First, in the most basic terms, the fatal flaw of simple determinism results from thinking of the situation as if the subject is not part of the universe in which the subject exists. But the subject is part of the universe and an actor in that universe, and as an actor has part of the power and force of the universe and can be identified as a cause of an event like any other force in the universe. Also, the time of the action this actor engages in the unbroken chain of actions through time, is as important as any other time in the succession of events. If one models the universe following deterministic processes, any actor must be viewed as both a subject that determines and as an object that is determined. The action may be depicted as starting with the actor at a particular time, just as it may be depicted as starting with any other part of the universe at any other time. It's all a matter of perspective. Now, about free will. Note that any actor or object, forms and acts in response to all forces acting upon X, both internal to X and external to X. The internal forces in the brain of a sentient being may be described as comprising the will. The term free will is problematic because it implies an independence from forces of the universe, and there can be no such independence. However, it should be noted that the term is often used loosely to refer to freedom from social pressures, and that usage is not directly contradicted by the analysis here, though it is apparent that complete freedom from social pressures becomes virtually impossible if an individual interacts with and becomes dependent on in any manner other individuals in a society. As an aside, note that if individual X exerts X's will in changing the mind of individual Z, for example, changing Z's beliefs or understanding, then Z's mind in part becomes an agent of X's mind. Then Z's will may be a function of X's will. If Z acts as a result of X's manipulation of Z, can Z's act be represented as an expression of freedom, as an expression of Z's will? It depends on the time frame from which freedom and will are analyzed. From the time frame starting after the manipulation, Z's will was exercised and Z's act may be expressed as an act of Z's individual freedom, as Z had incorporated X's influence, and that influence had shaped Z and in a sense become part of Z. From the time frame before manipulation, one could say that X's will was expressed in Z's actions, and Z's act was not an act of Z's individual freedom. Over time, the will evolves as the individual encounters new energy that shapes the individual's identity through perception and repercussions of perception. The will also evolves because of biological changes, for example, hormonal changes or the processes of aging, injury, or disease. With regard to the related concept of identity, note that human identity over time is approximate, not absolute, as all living things change over time. Time really is just a measure of change. As a human being grows and has experiences, the human brain changes in response to stimuli from the outside world, both in an immediate sense and over time in response to analyses of that stimuli, such analyses being a form of internal stimuli. The brain at the present time is a function of what it was at an earlier time and what it experienced between that time and the present. So the identity of the individual at a time in the past is not the same, at least not exactly, as the identity at the present time. Actually, at any time the identity one experiences is the result of the combination of and interaction of the internal forces at that time, which are in part a function of the external forces that impacted the brain through perceptions in the past, including the immediate past, and any analysis that occurred as a result, and of course any biological changes from aging or disease or injury or any other ongoing chemical processes. So, one can claim the whole range of identities that one's brain has assumed since the beginning of brain formation, since birth, the conventional choice, since one's first coherent memory, or since any birthday or any other event. Or one can claim just the identity of the moment or of the immediate past. As with free will or will, one's identity is really all a matter of perspective.